Joining me now, Democratic Congressman Engel, ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, who just returned from Ukraine. Good to see you, Congressman. Good morning.
Good morning.
I know on Monday you called for ramped up sanctions, sectoral sanctions. What's it going to take, do you think, for that to happen, and particularly for our European allies to sign on?
Well, that's the key for our European allies to sign on. I'm glad that President Obama is meeting with Chancellor Merkel now. Germany gets a third of its energy needs from Russia. That's the case of a number of countries in Europe, and they are more reluctant than we are to impose sanctions on Russia. My view is that sanctions on Russia need to be imposed. The president has imposed some, but they need to be ratcheted up, because I think what Putin is doing now is disgraceful.
They have, the EU now, I think the unemployment rate is 11.8%, and obviously the concern they have is that some of these sanctions will hurt their own economy, which is already not in great shape.
Well, yeah, and that's a concern. However, they have to balance the concern. I think that Putin cannot be allowed to invade another country with impunity. He kind of knows that the countries of Europe need his energy, and therefore I think that's causing him to, in his calculation, to continue to do what he's doing. But there is no place for changing of borders by force in Europe, certainly not in Europe or anywhere at this time. And I think that Putin needs to be told that this is not something that will be accepted.
This isn't the only hot spot. Let's talk a little bit about Syria, where activists claim that an airstrike there hit a market in Aleppo this morning, killing as many as 40 people. There were some devastating pictures of young children. This follows a strike on that school in Aleppo on Wednesday that killed at least 18 people. Then you have the unconfirmed report of the chlorine bomb attack. Where does that leave us? What needs to be done?
The problem is, right now, there are no good choices left in Syria. I've always favored arming the Free Syrian Army, the rebels. The problem is, there are so many different rebels, jihadists, Al-Qaeda. You don't want the weapons to get into the wrong hands. But Assad is a horrific player. He's a terrible player. He's using starvation as a tool of war. He's starving his own people. He's murdering his own people. They have these barrel bombs that put nails and all kinds of things into people's skin. And I think the world just cannot continue to stand idly by and allow this to happen. We have children and civilians all being killed. This murderous rampage needs to stop. The problem is there are no good choices. In my opinion, we should have been arming the Free Syria Army for a couple of years. But I think it's better late than never. There's still time to do so, and that's what I would do.
Let me ask you about what's going on domestically, because a good jobs report today, but there are some other areas that we talked about earlier in the program still of concern. For example, interest rates, housing sales. How do you view today's report in terms of the overall economy and its strength or weakness?
Well, the report is good. The economy is growing, but I think that we shouldn't think that everything's a panacea just yet. I think my own view is that the Feds need to be careful before they raise interest rates. We have the housing market, which is just starting to take off a little bit. If you raise rates too much, people cannot afford to buy, with housing prices going up and rates going up. So I hope the Feds take that into consideration and don't rush to raise interest rates anytime soon. I think the economy is still very, very fragile, and while unemployment's gone down, there are a number of people that are no longer looking for work, so that kind of skewers the exact statistic. So I would be careful if I were the Fed.
Let me ask you really quickly, because we had the chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, Jason Furman, on at the top of the program, and he talked about the proposals that are out there from the White House on the Democratic side, everything from infrastructure, job creation plans. But realistically, what's the chance anything gets done between now and November that's going to have an impact on the job market?
Well, realistically, it's zero. Frankly, in my view, the Republicans in the House, who have the majority, don't want to do any of this. They think stimulus is a dirty word. They don't like infrastructure. I think we need to do more of it. It'll put people to work. It'll help our infrastructure, which is crumbling and aging, and it's a win-win situation. But just the way the Republicans won't do anything with immigration reform or unemployment insurance, they won't do anything with infrastructure. So I would say 0 to 0, unfortunately.
Engel, good to see you, Congressman. Thank you so much for